Well, hello friends, this is Shelley. Thanks again for joining me. In this tutorial, we're going to make this beautiful child slash youth size beanie and neck warmer. I'm using Mainstays yarn. You can get it at Walmart. It's not an expensive yarn, and it's it's a little bit coarse, so our machines fight it a little bit, but with a little bit of patience and a little extra time, you can make a beautiful set from this yarn. It's worth the extra time and the energy that it takes to make. I used one full ball plus such a very little bit of the next ball that I hate to say I even need two balls, but you better get two just to make sure. And this is again for a child or a youth size. You can adjust the row counts and make an adult size for sure, and that's easily done. But we are going to use our 46 needle Addi for the beanie, and I'm choosing to use my 40 needle Sentro for the neck warmer because I love the width that it provides. So please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. That means a lot to me when you do that. And once you have your supplies, we're going to get started on this beautiful project. So have fun, friends. All right, friends, we're going to take our machine of choice, and I'm using my 46 needle Addi. We're going to take our yarn tail, find our last white and our first black needle. We're going to cast on with a drawstring cast on, going in front of that first black, behind, in front, and behind all the way around. Make sure when you do this that you just let it go loosely. Don't put any tension on your yarn. Just let it slip through your fingers. This yarn is already tough enough to work with. You got to have a little bit of patience. I'm just warning you. But it's going to be worth it in the end. But if you add extra tension while you're doing this, then just makes it even more hard, because this yarn, for the first few rows anyways, because yarn has a hard time slipping down over those needles to get over the red teeth. But I'm going to set my row counter to 0, and I'm going to go slow. I want to make sure that that loop is going down over those little red teeth before the needle pulls the yarn down. And if you go slow and you've got a looser tension, not really loose, I have it like this, not really loose, but not tight. You don't want to put any extra grip on it. Then you'll be able to nicely knit. Now, again, this yarn is coarser yarn. It's like I compare it to the feel of Red Heart yarn. And so, I know some of you use Red Heart yarn and you love it, and that's great. But for the most part, in my experience with any yarns that is coarse feeling like this, and like the Red Heart Super Saver yarn, those loops have a hard time going down over the red teeth, and you'll get tuck stitches if you're not careful. And the key phrase there is if you're not careful. You can go ahead and use it, which is what I'm doing. I wouldn't use this for every project because it would be frustrating, but to use it for, every once in a while, you can do it. You just have to find the right speed that the yarn likes with the machine, and the right tension. And you can see here I'm going at a pretty slow speed, but I'm watching in here to make sure that loop goes down over the red teeth. And if I go a little bit slower than what I normally would, see how that one tucked, but I didn't get far enough, so I can go ahead and I can just back it up just a little bit and then fix it. But I have to watch every stitch as it goes by. This one too, see? I'm going to put some whites on it right away. If I'm watching in here, then I can fix it right away. I don't have to go around and then fix a tuck stitch. I can back it up a little bit. If I got it any further, then within 1 or 2 needles away, then I wouldn't be able to do that very easily. I mean, you can still do it, but you have to hold your loops down on this side so that they don't fall off then. But we're going to just keep knitting, just slowly like this. I'm going to just go till the end here. I think I have enough to put my weights on. But you can see, I have to be patient. You have to be patient, friends. But again, if you're making a special gift or you want something with beautiful colors like this, you have to just set your mind to the fact that it's going to take longer. Okay? Because you need to pay attention to detail. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and a cookie. Helps to set the mood and make it easier. And I'm going to use my claw weights. I get comments asking where I get these from, and I had them, but you can get them from Amazon. They're heavy metal claw weights. You just clip them on And every 10 rows or so, you move them down. They help that loop to go down over the red teeth by adding that weight. Okay, friends, you're going to keep going until you reach 100 rows. Remember, we are doing a brimless beanie. So 100 rows on your counter. But I'm going to, once it starts to touch the table, I'm going to come back and show you what to do with it if you're new. We're going to take those claw weights off and we'll do it a different, we'll put the tension on a different way. And then I'll explain why we do that as well. So keep going, friends, until your project starts to touch the table or until you get to 100 rows. And look how much better this is going now that we've got some weight on there. I'm going to be able to just keep going at an even speed, and I have a light tension on here, and it's working out beautifully. So have fun, friends. I'll see you once my project starts to touch the table. All right, so I'm at row 59, and you can see that my work is starting to, oops, don't want to snag that, that my work is starting to touch the table. So I'm going to take these claw weights off, and we're going to, let me just set them aside here. We're going to pick up our work. We're going to roll it over on itself into what we call a donut. Okay, so just, oh, you guys, this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm not having much trouble actually with it. So it's great. Those claw weights really make a difference. So we're going to roll it up into a donut there. It's going to do the same job as the claw weights did, except it's not quite as heavy. But we've got the weight of the fabric now that helps. And so it just tightens up your tension around the inside of your barrel up at the top here and helps to pull those needles down. So we want to do that and keep rolling as you get longer and longer. And keep it into a nice firm donut, and that will help you prevent your tuck stitches as well. Okay, because if you let it sit on the table, it would start puckering up like this as you continue to knit. And when you put less tension on your project like this, when it pushes up on it, you could risk dropping those little loops off your red teeth. So that, my friends, is why we roll it up. There we go. I'm going to continue till I get 100 rows complete. And I think this yarn is worth every little bit of extra time it takes because it is so gorgeous. Check out the bear scarf and beanie set that I made with this yarn as well. It's further down on my channel. Just go to Beanies and Scarves playlist. And I used a different color of this mainstay yarn, and it turned out beautiful as well. So check that out. I'll see you when I get to 100 rows. Just finishing up row 100, looking for that black divider to come around, but I took a permanent marker and I marked, look at that, I got a knot at the very end. That's why I like to hold it with my hands, because if you were just whipping around with your handle and not paying attention and not holding it, you would have not seen that, and think about how that would have reacted with your machine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a drawstring cast off. So I want you to cut off a piece of yarn that will go around your barrel in length 1.5 to 2 times. Okay, we're going to find our little needle. Let me just grab mine here. This one will do. And we're going to open our latch, pop that yarn tail between the last white and the first black, because we still have to finish knitting these two. Then we're going to rotate our barrel all the way around until you see that black divider coming. You want to stop when it's about there. So there's 2 needles on the side of this before you get to that one. Otherwise your needle will pop up and push your loop off your teeth, the little red teeth, and you don't want that, okay? So then now we can pick off that first needle, and then we could, or pardon me, loop, and then here's the second loop. Pull it straight out to the side. If you take it and you pull it up like this and you pull too hard, when you get to the end, if you're pulling too hard, you'll pull that loop off the next needle. So that's why you want to be very, very careful. And I'm going to just go around until I get all my loops taken off. Turn your handle. Once you get a little bit of slack in here, you can then take off a few at a time. Pull through and continue on. And here we go. Go ahead, friends, remove all your loops from the little red teeth, and I'll see you when you get to the end. I have my piece off the machine and I have removed the machine, so I have my work area here. We're going to unroll this absolutely stunning piece. Like, seriously, friends, look at that. And we are going to stretch it widthwise and lengthwise. And it does actually, it softens up quite a bit once you stretch it, because it's a pretty coarse fabric, and it still is, but it's just so gorgeous. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take the one side, put our hand into our tube, grab that, pinch it with our hand, taking those tails with you, and bring it through to the other side. So we're going to put it in half just like this, bringing those tails out. Taking that inside tail, we're going to pull on this to close, but we're not going to close it completely. I'm going to grab my cinch guide. If you don't want to put a removable pom-pom in it, you're going to close it completely. But I use removable pom-poms, and I have Pom-kin's products that I use. I'll put the link in the description box below. But I'm going to put this cinch guide in. This just helps us to have the right size of opening here for our removable pom-pom. And we're going to just pinch it closed, just like that, making sure it's nice and smooth. I'm going to put this on my needle and cut it off first, because it does not need to be that long. These are metal wool needles. I get them on Amazon, okay? And we're going to, or in Walmart, either one. I haven't seen them in Walmart for a while, though. I've checked, because I need to get some more. I'm running out of smaller ones. What happened there? There we go. And you're going to go around, and you're going to reinforce all your stitches. Just going underneath that first row. This is the second size needle in the set of 3. I love my smaller needle for this, but the little loops, I've used them so much. All 3 of mine that I had, the little loops broke off, so I'm going to persevere with this one. You're just going to go around that first row of stitches just to reinforce it. Once is enough. And then you can tie off in a knot. And just one is good, because you're going to tie this to the outside layer, or we're going to see later which one we want for the outside and which one we want for the inside. You're going to do the same thing to this other side, okay? Oh my goodness, you guys, I cannot tell you how, well, you can see it's beautiful, but it's probably even nicer in real than it is on the video. We're going to pull that tight, popping our cinch guide in there, because we want to make sure that this one is the right size too. I'm going to pop this on my needle, and I'm going to go around and reinforce it once. I have now put that cinch guide back in between both layers. And a little tip is that where this yarn is on this side of the inside of the beanie, that's where you want this one to end. So that when you tie them off, your yarn strand isn't in the way of your pom-kin when you put your pom-pom in. So then I'm going to pull this inside layer one up. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to tie these off in a good knot. 1, 2, and I always do 3 for this part. And 3. Cut this off so that they're the same length. It's easier to weave in. Put this back on my needle. And then I'm going to just weave it around just a little bit. And then I'm going to pop it on the inside. Right up where the very top thing is there. You don't have to do this part, but I just recently started doing this. And then I'm going to just go around this top part here again, just because then it holds the 2 layers really close together. I went over a few stitches on the other side just like this, and I'm going to do it on this side again, and these 2 halves will stay together just like that. And I'm going to just go back a little bit. And you can take this and then put it in between your 2 layers. And you have a nice secure opening. These strands are not in the way of your pom-kin when you want to put your pom-pom in. Pop that down into there, in between the two layers, and cut it off. And there you go. You've got your brimless beanie for a child. There we go. Now let's see what the other side looks like for the color variations. Oh, you see, that's gorgeous too. So now you have to choose. But the thing is, because you have a removable pom-pom, they can choose whatever side they like. That's predominantly blue on the bottom. This one's predominantly pink on the bottom. Okay, and all throughout. I like the other side personally, because it's got all the colors more evenly distributed. Now what we're going to do, and so there you go, you have your little hole at the top, which isn't too big if you don't want to have a pom-pom. It looks great. But I went ahead and I made a pom-pom using my number, 65 pom-pom maker. I have a set of 4. This is the third one, the third biggest one. There's one more that's larger, and look at this pom-pom, you guys. Is it not just absolutely gorgeous? We're going to take this pom-pom and we're going to take our pom-kin. Now these pom-kins are meant that when you bend them in half, you pop them in that little hole, and then they spring back, and that's what holds your pom-pom in. We're going to put that right on there. We're going to take our 2 yarn tails, and we're going to tie them in the center of our pom-pom, just like that. And I'm going to do one more knot. Then I wrap this around, 1 and 2, and you can use faux fur pom-poms as well, and wrap the elastic around it twice, and I go the other way with this one. 1 and 2, bring those strands into the center, tie another knot, pop these on your needle, take them through that center of your pom-pom and out, pull up, cut them off the same length as the other strands. A little bit shorter is what I just did. It's okay. And then you've got a beautiful pom-pom, and all you have to do is take that pom-kin. You're going to squeeze it in half. And it's sometimes hard to hold, which is good because it wants to spring out, which is what you want. You're going to pop it in that little center. You put your beanie upside down and then push down on it. Makes it easier to get it in. If you tightened it a little too tight, like what I might have done. Oops, no, it's okay. Then you go to the inside and you pull it out. And there you go. It stays in place. No, that does not hurt their head. For those of you who are saying, doesn't that hurt? No, it doesn't. It doesn't touch their head. Okay, and then you're going to just find where you need to trim. All right, so our beanie's done. It looks absolutely beautiful. And now what we're going to do, oh, just a little side note. Because this project is for a child and a youth, this set will fit up to, I would say, 12 years old and go as young as 3 years old. But for the 3-year-old, you might want to roll this up just a little bit, just to make it a little bit smaller, and just like that. And then as they grow, it'll fit them, because this beanie right here will fit, like I said, an older child and a young youth as well. I think I would guess up to 12 years old. This would even fit a small adult's head, because like it's 100 rows. So that's the measurements for a child. You know, our heads aren't that much different from child to adult, if you want to know the truth. The circumference is always the same on these beanies. Doesn't matter what size we're making. When we're using our 46, we make infant beanies, and the circumference is still the same. It's the row counts that make a difference. So, friends, this hat is beautiful, and it's versatile. So there you go. What you're going to do now is you're going to grab your machine of choice. I'm using my 40 needle Sentro, and we are going to make the matching neck warmer that is child and youth size, and that's determined by the amount of rows that we're going to use. Okay, friends? So grab your machine and your yarn, and let's continue. So to begin, we're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn guide. And for this particular machine, now I can't see the numbers, But it might be that the black is numbered to be the last one and the white to be the first, but I like the black to be the first. So I have taken a black permanent marker, mark that divider between the last white and first black, and that is how I use it. We're going to take our waste yarn. You want a color that you can see clearly against your working yarn, so that we can close up the end in a straight closure. So we're going to cast on with our waste yarn in front of that first black, then behind and in front, alternating like that all the way around. Even though it's waste yarn, you don't want to put too much tension on it. Just let it slip through your fingers as you go around. I love the width of the 40 needle machine, and it's going to be a perfect width for a neck warmer for a child. So I'm going to put it into my middle tensioner, because for my center I have to hold it down a little bit. I do have my Addi clamps on the back legs, but sometimes it can still be a bit wobbly. However, one of them was really loose. One of the clamps was loose, so that's why I was noticing it right off from the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to knit 7 rows of waste yarn, making sure I have slack coming out of my ball. I think that's 3 or 4. We'll say this is 5, 6. And in the middle of the 7th row that I do, I'm going to set my row counter to 0. There we go, before I get to the beginning there. Which actually wouldn't have mattered because my magnet is still a few needles away. But I'm going to, and the magnets, when the magnet connects with this counter, that's what changes it. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put it between my last white, my first black. I'm going to grab my working yarn. This is still from the ball that I used for the beanie, and I'm going to finish this off before I start the next one. But for a child's neck warmer, you want it to be about 20 to 21 inches like long, your panel to be 20 to 21 inches long, and then we'll put that into a circle. And for a regular adult, you would just do like an inch or so longer. So this is really a versatile pattern. It's going to fit a lot of different necks. Okay, but we're going to just let it go here. I'm just going to slow her down just a little bit just to watch those loops. I was giving her a little bit too much. I'm going to actually move my yarn into my bigger tensioner. I'm feeling like it was just pulling it a little bit too tight. And I'm keeping an eye on my yarn tail as well, because if there's any knots that come, I want to be able to see it. That one was going to tuck. And let me see here. It's just giving me some trouble coming out of the ball. I believe I need to slow it up just a little bit. You can feel it snapping. It's because it's taking a little bit of time for that loop to go down from the white needle over the pink teeth. I'm going to use my hands to just gently guide those loops down over the teeth as I go until I get a little bit of weight on it. I think I have enough room now. I can actually put my claw weights on. I'm going to do that. Attach that there. And we're going to get a little bit of assistance from them. Okay. There we go with the claw weights on, and then I'm just giving a little assistance here right now. I've put the yarn back in the biggest yarn tensioner, and I can already feel it's getting a little bit easier. I just needed to get a few more rows on here, even with the claw weights. This machine doesn't love this yarn. But you know what? Like I said in the beginning of the video, sometimes it's okay to use yarn like this if you've got the patience and the time to let your project take a little bit longer. But you know what? I think that it's worth it, because I think this yarn is absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to just make sure there's some loose tension coming out of the ball. Then I think if I raise my claw weights again, I think I'm almost at the place where I don't have to guide it. You only have to do it for a little bit. So you know what? With the beanie, I had to do it for the first little bit of rows, and then I could just take an even speed and it went, and I can already see that's where it's going. Okay. So we want between 20 and 21 inches. I'm going to just keep going at this nice even speed, even though it's slow. And I'm going to work till I get to 90 rows, and then I'm going to, at that point, measure it and see where we're at. I think 90 rows should be enough, but I'm going to check it when I get there. So just do what you did with the beanie. When it starts to touch the table, you can remove the claws and roll it up into a donut. This isn't going to take long. It's going really nicely now. See, friends, patience is a virtue. Keep going. I'll see you when it starts to touch the table. I am on row 57 and I'm giving it a good stretch so that I can get an accurate measurement before I start rolling it up into a donut. So I'm going to just pop this down into the center here. I'm going to hold it at the edge of this piece, and then I'm going to measure it up. It's about 18 inches. I figured it was looking longer than, I didn't think I'd need to have 90 rows. But I'm going to also lift it up this way, being very careful, of course, because I do not want it to fall off those little loops. I'm going to measure it this way. 13 inches. I'm going to go by that. 13 inches at 57 rows, and I need 20 inches approximately. So I'm going to keep going till I get to about 85 rows. Just is what I'm guessing. I'll measure it again, but I'm going to roll it up into a donut. You have to unroll it and measure it again, just because you want the accuracy. But I think 85, 90 rows is going to be good for this particular one. So I'm going to continue going. I've had to pretty much help it consistently with very, very light pressure on my fingers here. So it's not hard to do. I'm just guiding those loops down. And with that little bit of assistance, I'm able to just keep going continually. And there's not been a problem at all. Okay, so I'm going to go until I get about 85 rows, and then I'm going to measure it. Having finished 85 rows, I unraveled this, or unwound it, and stretched it out and measured it, and it was exactly 20 inches. So I'm going to stop at 85 rows. But it's important that you measure yours and stop where it works for you. You can do a gauge swatch at the beginning of your project if you like, and find out how many rows it takes for you to do an inch, and then just do the math. But I find it quite easy to do it this way too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a long enough tail to sew up my piece. It's just got to go across the width 1.5 to 2 times, and I'm going to pop that into the center between the last white and the first black. Now I did have to start my second ball, and I started at about there. I had already started this darker purple color in the old ball. That's where I left off. So I unwound my ball until I got to this color so that I could continue in that color and then follow the natural flow. So that's what I did, and I hardly touched. I just used this much of the second ball. So, you know, if you were to do your pom-poms in like faux fur pom-poms or whatever, you could probably get this project done in one ball. But I would buy the second one just to be sure. So now we're going to take our waste yarn. We're going to pop that into the center between the last white and the first black. And we're going to just hold it until it connects, and then we're going to knit as many rows of waste yarn as you feel comfortable. Oh, I should make sure those loops all go down. See, that one almost never did. And there we go. Tuck stitches aren't as much of a problem. Well, they aren't a problem really with the waste yarn because they're not part of the project. But you still want to be able to have a good... Look at this. I am having trouble here. You still want to have a good hold on your stitches there so that you can work them properly. So this is Bernat Premium yarn. It never gives me problems in my Sentros, but it is wanting to copy the other yarn. But okay, here we go. We're on a good roll here. Now it can go. I'll just knit a few more rows to make sure. See, this is normally how Bernat Premium works. It'll just glide in your machine and have no problem at all. I'm going to stop when the black divider comes around this next time. I want to hold these stitches in place. Right now, what we could do is we could just cut this yarn, put it into the center here between the last white and the first black, rotate our barrel 2 full turns, and our project would fall off. But then these stitches are live and they would start to drop. And because we're going to seam up our sides together, we want them to hold. We want this to hold for a while. So we're going to take it off with a drawstring cast off. And then this line here that we're going to use is going to hold those stitches in place while we work on our piece. Okay, so all I'm going to do is take this around just like we did before, and we're going to just release our stitches onto the needle. And I'm going to go around until I have all 40 stitches taken off. Okay, friends, so go ahead, remove your work from your machine, and I'll meet you back. Taking our piece from the machine, we are going to stretch it out and pray that my measurement was right. I'm going to stretch it. That is definitely big enough to fit a child's neck, but I'm going to measure it one more time. $20.5. Not even, because I had that at the waist yarn. Let's put this where it needs to go. Right there. 19.5. You stretch it out and it's 20.5, 21 even. So that's perfect. 85 rows. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to grab 4 stitch markers in 2 different colors. So 2 of each color, because it's easier that way. You're going to, once that's spread out, we're going to find where our tails are, make sure they're outside of our work here. That one's coming from the other side. So I'm going to pull it over to this side. We're going to fold our piece. All these tails that are unnecessary, we're going to leave. We're going to fold our piece in half so that our 2 tails are meeting, but I don't want them down there, so I'm going to do it this way. It's easier. Okay, so that they're on the top here. Where are they? On the top instead of hiding down there. So then I have my 2 here, 1 and 2. Let's put a stitch marker in them. Okay, so take the side where your waist yarn is going down. Okay, so here's your waist yarn up here. It's going down, and then you'll be able to follow along with me as I do this. The loop that it's coming out of, that last loop, is where you're going to put a stitch marker. Right there. Then when you go over to the other side, you'll see your working yarn was here. When you pull on this, all these tails, on this loop up here, it's part of your working yarn. So you pull on that, and that's your last loop. You're going to put your other color of stitch marker in that loop. Okay? Let's switch over to the other side. Just give this a little turn here to make it easier. Your waist yarn is coming up here. The last blue loop that it's going through is this one down here. So we're going to put a blue stitch marker because we want the same color to be across from the same color. See that? Okay, now this one, this is our working yarn. You're going to look, it's right beside the last loop there. So that's how you know you're on the same side that I am. Here's your working yarn, and this loop right beside it is the one you're going to put your stitch marker in. But you see how my stitch markers match in color? These are going to be our first stitches that we work, and these are going to be our last. Okay, so we're going to then take our yarn tail, or you can turn it this way and make your blue ones your first one. Let's just see where this is coming out. It's coming out of the blue, so I want to start with my green. I'm going to leave those out because it's coming out on this end, so we're going to go that way. We're going to pop this yarn tail on our needle, and we're going to do the Kitchener stitch to close this, okay? So what we're going to do, don't be scared, you can do this. We're going to take these 2 stitch markers. We're going to first take this yarn tail, and we're going to take this first green one, and we're going to go down into the center. So we're going from closest to your body down into the center, and you're going to pull that through. We're going to keep these stitches loose, okay? They're not going to be tight because they need to match the tension that we have there. You're going to go over to this stitch marker, and you're going to go from the top down into the center there with this one. Okay, you're going to pull that through. Now we're going to begin our actual Kitchener stitch. That was just to join. We're going to start back. So whatever stitch we went into last is the one that we're going to go into first on each row. Except for these crazy yarn tails are going to drive you a little bit nuts until we get around. So just be a little patient. I have to tell myself. I'm telling you that so that I can tell myself that, okay? So here's our first one. We're going to, if you bend this away from you so that the point of the V is closest to you and you make it look like there's a stitch, you're going to go straight across and you're going to pick up that stitch, okay? You're going to pull that through. You're going to come over to the top one here and you're going to put the point. This is the one that we're coming out of. Let's go from the top down into that one because I can't show you the V on this one, it's too tight. And then we're going to go from the inside to the outside on that next one. I'll show you the patterning as we get away from these crazy stitch markers, okay? And then here's the last stitch that we went into on this bottom row. This is the very next one. So if you were to bend that up so that the point of the V is facing you, it looks like a stitch, you're going to go straight across. If you don't want to do it that way, you're going to go into the center with your needle and then back out towards you in the next stitch. Okay, pull it, but leave it quite loose. Then you're going to go back up to the top. This is the stitch that we came out of. So if you want to make it look like a stitch, you can put the point of the V away from you and go straight across, or you can go into that last stitch that you worked and come down into the center of your work. Here's the center. And then you're going to go into that next stitch by going out, okay? And then you're going to pull this. Again, you're not going to make it too tight. You keep rotating your tube so that you have a longer space to work in here, okay? Here's where we went out. If it's easier for you to see a stitch, then just bend that so the point of the V is towards you and go across. Pick it up. Pick up that full, what looks like a stitch. Go up to the top and do the same thing. See how that looks like a stitch? The point of the V is facing away from me, so I'm going to go right across. And I'm going to pull. Oops, I'm going to snag that stitch there. Then we're going to go back down to the bottom. Okay. Here's where we came out of this stitch. We're going to make that one and the next one look like a stitch, and we're going to go across. See where the point of the V is closest to me. Up to the top. And give it a nice tension, but again, not too tight. Into the center, out towards me. Into the center, and away from me. Go down to the bottom. Here's the stitch that we last worked. We're going to go back into there and across. And if you want to bend it, you can see that there looks like a stitch there. The point of the V is facing you. Go back up to the top. Let's make a stitch. You're going to bend that. Should have used white yarn. Here's where the last stitch we were in. Here's the next one. The point of the V is away from me this time. So I hope you're getting that visual. I do have a video on Kitchener stitch if you want to go look it up and if it makes it easier for you. But go in towards the center. Here's the center. Come out towards you. Go in towards the center, go away from you. In and towards, in and away. In and towards, in and away. In and towards, in and away. And you're going to do that all the way around, making sure that you do not miss a loop, because then when you take your waste yarn off, your row would drop if you miss a loop. Okay, we're going to just turn this so we have a longer track to run on, so to speak. Okay, and we're going to go and we're going to go up to the top, back down. I'm going to finish this all the way around, and when I get to the end, I'll meet you back. I'm at the end, and look at the small amount of yarn I have left. I'm going to finish this one here, which is into the last stitch marker here. I'm going to go over to the top and do the same thing. I'm being very careful here. I had to change my needle. The other one was too long, and I would have never made it. And I've got that one there, and I just made it. What I wanted to do from here, I'm going to take out these blue stitch markers. If you have a long enough piece, what I want you to do is go back into the stitch you just came out of and up into the first stitch. Do it at the top as well. I'm going to already go into here. And then pick up this one. Sorry about this, guys. I just was running out of yarn, but I can tie it off to this one. So I'm going to go into that stitch that I'm going to go into, then I'm going to thread my needle and pull it through. All right, so I used my little yarn helper to help me thread my needle, and I'm going to finish off that last stitch. So I followed the same patterning. You know how you go into the last stitch and then pick up the next one? Except for the last stitch that I picked up were these two first ones that I started in. Okay, let me just take those stitch markers out. I'm going to get a knot in that little end here before it's too late. Tie that off. Just like that, and I'll hide it to the inside of my work once we get our waste yarn and stuff off. But to take the waste yarn off, we have to release that first row of yarn that is holding all of our stitches. So what you're going to do is you're going to find which way it's trailing from. So this one's trailing from this end. I'm going to roll this up so that I see that very top row, and you see there's that stitch it's going through. Pinch the stitch, pull the line. You're going to do this on both sides. It's the same thing for both sides of waste yarn. Pinch the stitch, pull. Once we get that first row released, so I'm going down about 5 or 6 stitches. Once you get that first row released, then you can just unwind it. It just comes apart, except for because we have a tube here and it's joined. It's a little bit finicky, but again, this project is developing our patience. Okay, and there we go. I'm almost around. So then all you have to do is take it around just like this and take it off. You're going to do that to both sides. If you're not saving this waste yarn, which I'm not, you can cut it off part way through so that you don't have such a long tail to pull. And you're going to keep pulling until you get your waste yarn off. Just like that. Okay, friends? Go ahead, do that to this other side. Release the top row of yarn and then unwind it. All right, so here's where we did the Kitchener stitch. Looks pretty awesome. And I put this over my head, you guys, and it fits my neck snugly. This is going to be perfect for a child. Absolutely perfect. All Aren't these colors just beautiful? Friends, this is such a pretty set. Now they have lots of different color combination options in this Mainstays yarn, so you can choose for girl, boy, whatever color choices you desire, and I would love to see them. So if you make a set, please tag me if you post in any Facebook groups. Tag Shelley Weeb, not Koala Knits and Knacks. And if you tag my name, then if I'm in that group, I'll be able to see it and cheer you on. So thanks again for joining me. I'm glad to have spent this time with you. Take care and have a blessed day.